Who, Buddy Buck? I will tell you what, tonight we have to dig into this about 40-year-old Tecumseh 4 horsepower engine. Just currently got the oil draining out of her for that. Came off this Toro 421. This is actually the second video I'm doing on this. You don't have to have seen the first one, but if you'd like to, link up in the corner. It had no spark when it came in the shop, so we fixed the spark, but then it just did not have enough compression to bark at all. In fact, if you come over here, you can see, the spark plug's in and the spark plug's tight, and we can pretty much freewheel this. I do feel like the piston is connected, so I could be wrong, because the connecting rods do go in these, but usually you hear them binging and banging in there. I think we're either looking at valve, head gasket, or rings. What we're doing tonight, we're going to tear this thing apart, and I don't know, depending on how totally forked she is, maybe we'll get the parts and put her back together. Maybe we'll just have a good time tearing an old Tecumseh apart. Let's dig into her. Alrighty, first thing worth noting, I don't know what you can see, but there's no big part numbers that came out in the oil. It's not all glittery. I don't see a whole bunch of shiny, sparkly stuff in there, so that's a good sign. No metal in the down below is always a good thing. Also, if you follow my main channel, D&D in the Garage, we did a quick review on this Aries flexible funnel, and I am just loving it. This thing is 10 out of 10 all day. This is not the start of the show. Let's get into that Tecumseh. Alrighty, now these old Tecumseh flatheads just could not be easier to work on, so I think we're just going to dive right in. We're going to pull the head off and see what we're looking at there. Make sure not to lose these little spacers. Boy, that guy's fighting his way out. We'll deal with that in a minute. Oh yeah, all these are severely galled up from years and years of probably being stored outside, because that's what people do with these darn snowblowers. They use them once a year, leave them outside in the elements the rest of the time, and they expect them to start first pull every time. That's just not how that works, bud. Alright. Let's see about cracking this guy the rest of the way out. The last thing I want to do is break a bolt off in here. He's coming out. I think he's just, he's a tired old guy. There we go. Yeah, nothing broken. It was just a little chowder down at the bottom. And here's what we're up against. Alright, head itself has a good amount of carbon buildup on it. It's an old unit. Oh, that's just sludge, isn't it? There we go. Head gasket looks like it was intact. I don't see anywhere where it looks like it was blown out, so that's good. Yeah, all things considering, the head gasket was in decent shape. Now, if you're wondering why there was oil underneath the head gasket, I had some of the head bolts out and I had it on its side when I was diagnosing the spark. Anyway, I just found our issue. There you go, broken exhaust valve. No big deal. Poor little guy broke right off, and that's why we're not getting proper compression. Intake valve looks fine. Does it come up and go down? Yeah, there we go. And you can see the post still moves. So everything underneath is intact. We literally are just going to have to see it come up there. Literally just going to have to replace an exhaust valve. No big deal. I'll go find one of these on the internet. I'm going to put this footage in a safe place so I don't lose it. And I will see you guys the way things have been traveling, probably in a few weeks when we can put this little devil back together. All right, good news. We found a replacement valve. We found a new old stock from Illinois. It's going to be here in a few days, so we are going to tear this thing down further, get the valves out, and then get everything cleaned up to get ready for the new valves to get lapped and put in and get this thing back to chooching. What do you say? First thing we'll do is get this carburetor off and the muffler off so we can get down here to where you have to pull the valves out. Oh boy. Yeah. Let's see if we can't get some backup on there. Christmas, come on now. Get a bit of leverage. Oh yeah, there we go. Good gravy. That guy does not want to come out of there. Fight free this linkage, and remember that it was in the top hole because I always forget that. Let's tighten up this drain plug a bit more so it's not leaking all over the dang place. Christmas. There we go. What was I going to do? We're going to cut this fuel line because it's getting new fuel line anyway. And it's just the linkage, which again, top hole. And this carburetor, like I said, is going to need rebuilt because the butterfly is totally seized. But that'll be another day, possibly another video. No, it'll be this video because I'm going to want to hear it run in this video. Okay. Now we can get this exhaust up. We don't technically have to take the exhaust off to do the valves, but it's a hell of a lot easier, especially if you're trying to film it. Oh boy. I'm actually trying to source a new muffler for it as well, since it kind of looks like it's going to be a rebuild and a personal thing. Okay. There we go. Oh boy, that's not good. Thing was starting to deform a little bit. I think we might try the impact driver. I'd rather not strip that out. Let's see. Yeah, I think that one. The bigger one. Don't have a great way of securing this motor. Let's see, can I lay it down on this side? Yeah, I think that'll actually work quite nicely. Yep. For our purposes. Hey. Ooh, buddy buck. Tell you what. Oh, did it jump? It definitely felt like it moved some. Yeah, it's just mutilating that poor fastener. Let's try putting a little heat on her. Problem with these muffler bolts is that it's in the head, and then where it's bound up, you got an aluminum head, a steel bolt, and then on top of that, you got all this space in here for crud to build up in the threads. So let's get this coil wire out of the way. Now that's gonna melt a whole bunch of stuff that I don't really want to melt. Oh yeah, look at that. Shucks. Oh. Maybe that'll penetrate into there. I don't think so though. All right. Oh, hey, there we go. Perfecto. I don't know if it was the tiny bit of heat, the tiny bit of the good stuff here, or old Mr. Persuady, but it's good news because that was a whole issue I wasn't really trying to have to deal with. Though I do think I'm definitely going to source a new muffler, assuming one's not too expensive. All right, let's stand you up. Oh wow, that exhaust port's all full of friggin' schmoo now. I don't know if you can see it. We're gonna clean all this out though. It's not gonna matter. We need to get this flapper valve cover off. Judging by the condition of the piston and the head gasket, I really don't think there's anything wrong with the rings actually. So I'd rather not have to dig into the bottom end if we don't have to. I don't want to pull the piston out. I don't want to pull the sump cover off. I want to get a new valve, clean and lap the other intake valve, get all the carbon off and slam this thing back together. Come on now. Give her back. Give her back to me. There we go. We are going to have to get our hands on a full gasket kit. I'm not going to bother to. Okay, yep. So, a bit of sludge in there. No big deal. We know this thing was not particularly well taken care of. Alright, so once you get that cover off, here are our valve springs. Spring with a retainer, and then this on the bottom right there is the tappet. And we're going to pop both of these out because, like I said, I want to clean and lap the intake one even though it's fine. And I'm willing to bet these are out of spec as far as valve lash clearance. So we're going to do all of that. Owie! Little fornicator bit me. I don't have a spring compressor. It's on the old to-do list to get one, but most of the time you can do this without it. Just need to get a screwdriver to hold up the spring, figure out which side the slot is on. There we go. That did it. Now, the valve pops right out the top. See, ours had that little broken piece there. Spring of the thing comes right out. I said comes right out. You've got the little cup on top and the slotted seat on the bottom, which is currently playing hard to get. Come on now. This motor was definitely neglected as far as oil changes go because it is just sludgy everywhere. So all you're really doing is prying up with a screwdriver and then tilting it over to the side and the valve will pop right out the bottom. Let's try to do the same with our intake valve. There we go. Intake valve comes out. Intake valve is severely carboned, but I don't see any damage. And even the exhaust valve, wherever the heck that little guy was, it didn't look burnt or anything. I'm not really sure. Yeah, it wasn't burnt. Not really sure why it broke, but whatever. This thing's gonna be good as new. She's gonna chooch once we're done with her. Intake valve over there. Spring 'em a thing. Oh, you want to keep track of which spring was intake and which one was exhaust. So I'm going to go ahead and put this whole assembly back together so that I remember which was which. There we go. Just leave that over there. What we're going to do is cram this full of paper towel so that there's no chance all the carbon we're about to manipulate up here finds its way down into the bottom of the motor. The bottom of the motor is dirty enough as is. Now, it's finally a kind of nice day, sunny and not as cold as an Inuit's outhouse, so let's go outside and we're going to wire wheel this guy off, and then we'll clean off the valve, and then we'll be ready as soon as the postman wants to bring me my valve. Alright friends, we've got a number of weapons at our disposal. Of course, there's the good old brake clean. You're going to want a wire brush. Brass would be ideal, but a soft steel one like this will probably be okay. Keep your piston right at top dead center. I actually have to loosen this to get mine nice and flush, so that you can make sure you're not running the risk of... Yep, there we go. And then compressed air, of course. That'll be our first course of action. You're gonna be surprised at how much crap evacuates from these ports. Yep. You want to grind first, or? Carbon is, yeah, that's all hard carbon. So another thing you could use, be a carbide scraper like this. I love this. This is a Lyle one that I absolutely love. I will leave a link to where you can find it down in the description. But this thing is great at getting the big chunks off. But I think I'm gonna go with the wire brush on this one. Yeah, it's a little more satisfying. We gotta plug it in. Amateur hour, I tell you. There we go. Electrical pixies engage. Now, a good indication if your persuasion method is too aggressive, there are natural machining lines on the head from manufacturing. If you find yourself altering those, it's a pretty good indication that you're going at her a little bit too aggressively. We did not have that as an issue. Then what you got to do is find a way to clean down in there. I think I might have something for that. Yeah, this little guy I think is going to be perfect. I got this little guy and this from Benchmark Abrasives. If you're a monkey with a toolbox like me and you're trying to do stuff on a budget, like wire brushes and cutoff wheels, that stuff can get expensive quick. Go check out Benchmark Abrasives. I mean, obviously I don't need to say that they're not sponsoring me in any way, but they are really good for that kind of stuff. Let's see if I can do this without having the drill ripped out of my hands. Not teabag. Come on. What are we looking at now? Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah, I think this is the guy for the job on that one. All right, I think we're gonna put this guy away. It is now ready to receive new valves. Next, we're gonna just clean the head real quick since we have that guy out. Alrighty, let's get this cleaned up real quick. Now, I wouldn't have used this one either on the head gasket surface or on anything on that one because it's actually a little too aggressive. It is gouging into the head here, but this in the combustion chamber doesn't really matter. If you change the geometry a little, obviously, if you take massive, oh, whatever, you get it. Alright, it's gonna be good enough for gummit work. Good enough for me anyway. Just a spritz of the good stuff. You wouldn't want to overdo it. Well, it's a beautiful day. Might as well tackle the carburetor, eh? See if we can't figure out what's stuck up in there. Alrighty, I've done so many carburetors on this channel that I'm not really going to beat you guys over the head with it. We're just going to sort of get the high level stuff. Yeah, this is all seized, and you can see why it's all corroded in there. You see that all the time. So first things first, let's get the outside sort of cleaned off as best we can. Come on, give it back. There we go. Let's just see what the bowl looks like. Now, it didn't have spark, so conceivably this carburetor could be fine. I don't expect that because, again, the butterfly seized, but it could have been, you know, abandoned because of the no spark. And yeah, I mean, it's dirty, but far from the worst we've seen. You can see the float's not sitting level like it's supposed to. I'll put all new gaskets, new seat in this. Nothing seems seized up in here. Needle moves freely. Like it. Yeah, needle looks fine. The seat actually looks fine, though. I am going to replace it if I'm going to be spraying brake clean on it, because brake clean causes the seat to swell up. Let's see, where was she set? Oh man, 1 1.25. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this idle jet's pretty rough. Maybe not. Can replace the O-rings in there as well. Like I said, just total rebuild. So I'm gonna work on getting this valve on. Oh, that seems to have done it pretty well. What you can do when you have these that are seized up, alternate between brake clean and PB blaster. Spray a bunch of PB blaster on it, both up here and in there, then brake clean. So you can see this one's actually working correctly now. There was a little chunk of corrosion right at the bottom, and it broke itself free. So alright, pretty much everything's been cleaned, gaskets scraped. The only thing that's left to do is blow it out with air. I really don't think this thing had carburetor issues. I think it was parked for the no spark issue, because the carb was not bad. We're going to make sure everything gets nice and blown out. And now we're going to replace, I didn't take the emulsion tube out. I tend not to unless I really suspect there's an issue with it, and right now I don't. We're going to give it a new seat because we pulled that out, and we're going to replace the seals in the idle circuit, and we're going to slam her back together. Alright, first things first, we'll drop a new seat in there. Drill bit her down. Seal for over here. And brass washer for the same. And with the new seat in, you see it's sitting flush the way it's supposed to. So that old seat was bad, it was swelled up for some reason. There we go. Suppose we should test the yep, that seat's sealing. So I think this bad boy is good to go. See you guys on Tuesday when the valve shows up. Well friends, here is the truth that I'm going to tell you. We did finally get our valve in. We were waiting on the gasket kit, and I even broke down and bought a spring compressor. Believe it or not. So all those parts will be here later on. The valve, of course, new old stock, because I don't believe they've made this valve in many years. This particular exhaust valve was the same one they used on the HS40, the HS50, and a couple later vertical motors. horizontal motors, whichever one is the opposite of this. But I did check, this is the one that we're going to need. I also realized we actually have a lot of work left to do on this. I'm going to do a hillbilly tune-up on the valve seats. I'll show you how to do that. We need to lap these valves. We need to clearance them because after you lap them and do the hillbilly tune-up, it changes it, and the new valves, having a brand new valve, not a used one, means this one's never been touched. So the way you clearance these valves is actually by grinding bits off the end of the stem there. So what I'm getting at is we're going to part 2 this thing. If you want to hear this old girl bark, come back for that. If you want to see how to do a hillbilly tune-up on some valve seats, come back for that. You might want to subscribe to the channel. It's probably going to be a good week before I can get all the parts in. You know how it is. Life gets in the way. So if you like the video, that's common sense. Subscribe to the channel. I swear, soon I'm going to be getting into stuff that's not just snarl blowers and snarl blower engines. Warm weather's coming. I mean, y'all can see that jet ski there. You know that's getting fixed on the channel as soon as I get some time. I actually have 4 non-running jet skis. Bought 4 of them. Well, that's a story for another day. Anyway, thanks for watching on this one. Leave me your comments down in the squawk boxes about my basic top-end rebuild that we're tackling here. Not groundbreaking stuff, but I know I love these old motors, man. Can't get enough of them. So, like I said, subscribe to the channel. Keep an eye out for part 2. As always, thanks for watching.